We didn't really catch them, we reported them, but we offered food. But the liberal, disgusting, atheistic, communistic ACLU was ready to accuse the Minutemen of poisoning aliens, so we could not even feed them. That's how much the liberals just love those aliens. Don't even want them to be fed. Such hypocrisy. And we need to prevent in America what has happened, the atrocities that happened in Mexico due to the godless, evil world bankers. Remember, the Federal Reserve Corporation, this is not an American institution. These are composed of world bankers who rule the world and will increasingly take away our freedom, such as with the national ID card that has been passed, and now by 2008, we've got to have a national ID card. Thank you to the Federal Reserve Corporation. We'll talk more about that. The elimination of the interest payments and debt would be the equivalent of a 50% raise for the American hardworking wage earner. A 50% increase in salary. A 50% increase in purchasing power. The equivalent of $400 billion annually that would go back into our pockets so that we could spend more money, fund more missionaries to go around the world, and let business thrive because we'll spend more money and we will keep our industries going. Just think if we could revive the steel industry, which has been busted by the Federal Reserve Corporation. Our jobs are being exported. I mentioned the $133 billion in job losses alone. That does not include outsourcing. But the $103 billion in job losses to the illegal aliens coming over here. You know, some people say that Mexico has to improve in their economy to stop illegal immigration so that they will want to stay in Mexico. Yeah, right. So we should just let them keep coming here until they improve? No, the same world bankers busted them. They're not going to let them improve. This is hypocrisy. These are lies. Remember, politicians lie. Amen. They will not tell you the truth. Anything to take money out of your little pockets. Yeah. Let's talk about court decisions. You know, there are a few courts that are pro-American that are still left. Not very many, because most of our courts are run by activist federal judges, not constructionist judges that believe in simply interpreting the Constitution, but those who think they are lawmakers. That's not their job. But the court decisions, the Daily Eagle reported that the power of banks is stupendous, both in granting loans and arbitrarily recalling loans. Court decisions may be the beginning of the end of some of their powers. And for example, note the following decisions. A Minnesota trial court decided to hold the Federal Reserve Act unconstitutional and void. And they decided that the National Banking Act was they declared that unconstitutional and void. And also a mortgage acquired by the First National Bank of Montgomery, Minnesota, along with a foreclosure and the sheriff's sale were declared void. These decisions have the effect of declaring all private mortgages on real and personal property and all U.S. and state bonds held by the Federal Reserve, national and state banks to be null and void. Upon such decisions hang the balance of enslavement and freedom for the American people, to slavery to the world's banking system. Decisions such as these are only a beginning, and most people hoped for greater results. They hoped for much more, but unfortunately time has gone by, and these decisions did not accomplish the breakthrough that many had hoped for. The system of international banking and the elite still rules. Let's talk about the effects of globalization. Business Week, December 6th, 2004, did a special report on the effects of globalization on trades, businesses, gross national product, and labor in general. The report stated trade economists are struggling to reconcile traditional theories with emerging global realities. What a struggle. In the section of the report titled End of the Big Bank Bonanza, we hear that banks are facing hurdles in their quest to boost earnings, because the hot credit card and mortgage refi business are cooling as interest rates rise and regulatory costs are rising because of new laws. The more major media sources discuss globalization, the more easily Americans will come to accept it as inevitable. As the American people get further into debt, the more necessary the global bank will seem. So the bankers are facing hurdles. I told you that the Federal Reserve banks, they're in this for their own financial gain because it's business. They're not in it for the good of the people. Don't you feel sorry for the bankers? I see some of you weeping. I see handkerchiefs coming out of your pockets because you feel so badly for these Federal Reserve communists. Let's talk about the steps toward a global bank. The steps toward a global bank are simple. Note the progression of acceptance. The World Bank, the wonderful, sympathetic World Bank that hopes for a kinder and gentler world. They lend money to finance projects in the third world to meet the needs of the multinationals. See, that's where their heart is, the multinationals. They don't care for the poor third world countries and their poverty-stricken people living on dirt. They don't care about them. They care about the needs of the multinationals. The International Monetary Fund, when poor countries get into elite-engineered financial trouble, along comes the sympathetic International Monetary Fund, World Bank. And what they do, they intervene to offer more loans, thereby increasing the debts of the third world nations, on the condition that the elite's policies are followed. My friends, this is not unconditional love. This is not God's love pouring through the international bankers. Their conditions have to be followed. And what these conditions and policies are, it includes giving up land to grow crops in order to grow luxury crops for exportation, to meet the needs of the multinationals. So they can have another castle to live in, more apple pie to eat, and sit back and play games with our money, while third worlders starve and get further into debt. Then the European Monetary Union. The move by the European Union towards a centralized bank and single currency will follow. Actually, this step has already been begun with the UK's opt-out clause from the Maastricht Treaty being overruled by another. See, there's no freedom here. Then you have the control of food. Natural agricultural seeds will be replaced with patented, genetically engineered ones. According to UN estimates, 75% of genetic diversity has been lost during the past 100 years and in England. The situation now is that third world countries must pay royalties to the multinational companies for genetically engineered seeds. I believe that this will shorten the lifespan of people who have to eat the food that grows from these genetically modified seeds. And they don't reproduce themselves, so they have to keep on buying the seeds from the multinational corporations. It's enslavement. Remember, you can't buy, you can't sell, you cannot eat unless you go along with the World Banking's mark. It's the mark of the beast. It is 666. Let's talk about understanding. Through truth, not ignorance. People of the world, people of America, we need to know